Hey there, this is part 2 of a video about dating, specifically first dates, and the broader story of the experience that I had. I went on 127 first dates, and at first, because I was going to go out with this woman who obviously took the time to dress up and get a babysitter maybe, and take time to go out with somebody who she didn't know, I obviously wanted to come prepared. So I would make screen captures of the dating profile to be able to look at her interests and maybe some things about her. And later on, there was a period of time where I would be going on like a lot of first dates. And so I had to kind of keep everything straight in my head. And I have comments about that too. Dating around versus dating very selectively and exclusively as well. All right, so yeah, by the way, I have notes. Asking about divorce. Yes, so when I first started dating again, sorry, I didn't get finished with my thought. So what I did is, that's how the numbering started. And when I got to about 80 some odd, I was like, well, I may as well, just to say I did it, I may as well get to 100. And 84 was especially rough because I really liked her and she did not feel the same. So I was like, all right, well, maybe we'll just get to 100. And the 100th date is definitely something worth talking about. All right, so what I noticed is that early on, women would ask me about my divorce. Oh, you're just divorced. Why did you get divorced? Like, what happened? And that's a perfectly reasonable question. But if I were to advise somebody who was starting to date again in their middle ages, I would say, have a good response to these questions they're generally going to be asked. But you don't have to spill your guts every time, because it was painful. So after like 8 dates where it was like, tell me why you got divorced. And I was just like, oh, and I felt like, I was just disgorging my guts onto the table so she could sort of pick through them and see if it was satisfactory. And then, she had 8 other coffee dates. So, oh well for that guy. And I was like, oh, that's like a lot of vulnerability. That's a lot of exposure. Now, on the one hand, I really believe that it's up to the man to be vulnerable first. And I think, and there's a good reason for that. And that's my personal philosophy, is that yes, the woman gets to fiddle through your guts and to know about you and make herself not vulnerable and not necessarily share very much. And for me, that's par for the course for a first date, is to for the man to obviously want to give her openings and draw her into the conversation, but be ready to carry most of the conversational work on that first date. But be wise as well to have sort of a thought out responsive, not canned. It has to be sincere, but how much did I really want to talk about my divorce? So eventually I got to a point where I would give a satisfactory answer, but then later I could maybe expound on that and be more meaningful if it felt like things were progressing to date 2, 3, 4, etc. And excuse me. So delicious. Okay, yeah, I don't remember that. eHarmony. So I used eHarmony quite a bit, but eHarmony is serious business. It's what I call a marriage site, that's where people go to actually form something more permanent. And it is majority women on eHarmony. So, but not a bad place to go. And then on the opposite end of the spectrum, there's what I call hookup sites. I'd classify Tinder more or less as a hookup site, and I have absolutely no interest in that. And if I were to take on some dating coachees, I would that's not the type of thing that I would be setting up for. All right, so anyway, my number one thing is to improve personal value. By the way, my battery is going crazy. It's telling me I have 11 minutes and 1 minute. So if it dies out, I'm just going to quit there and just let it be whatever length it is. All right, value. This is the most important thing that I could possibly say. Generally, no, it's still going. Okay, generally, I would say everybody is looking to date up. They're looking for the most value. They're looking for the best companion that there is. And my advice is be that companion. Work on yourself and improve yourself. And it could, at the beginning, like if you were just coming off a rocky divorce and you just could barely get out of bed in the morning, start with something small. For example, go online and find out about how to to make a bed and fold sheets or whatever, and then you'll have at least that to talk about, among many other things, of course. But you can say, "I am learning this skill, and it may not seem like much, but I'm learning it and I'm proud of it." And or maybe a little bit about horticulture, getting some plants. You're taking care of plants, and that's a side hobby that you've started up. And every month or every year, improve yourself in some way. I learned to cook. I learned to ballroom dance. I learned men's style, which is huge. All these things help you immensely in life and to be a better person. And if you do decide eventually to settle down,